Dedication of the F. Niel Postlethwait Middle School. Middle school band.
Thanks for joining us in this ceremony for the dedication of the F. Niel Postlethwait Middle School. We'll begin this ceremony as we did in the previous ceremony with the raising of the American flag by the 436 Airlift Honor Guard. Then we'll be followed by the playing the national anthem by the Postlethwait Middle School Band, directed by and an invocation by our own Reverend Eric Henry.
Lord God, Creator of the universe. How excellent is thy name. Oh Lord God, we are thankful and grateful that we have a chance to assemble ourselves here today. Lord, we thank you for all things, from the rocking of our cradle up until this present time. We realize that we all have sinned by thought, word, and deed, but Lord, we ask that you will just forgive us of our sins. Grant us thy peace. Now Lord, as we come for this dedication of this building, we ask that you bless the inhabitants of this building, bless the children that will enter the walls of this building, that they may learn and that they may strive to do their very best. And Lord God, we ask special blessings upon the heads of state, the governor, the administrators, the superintendent of this district, and all the teachers, Lord. We ask that you might dedicate all of us anew, refresh us and revive us, so that we might be able to do the work that you will have us to do, that we might be able to teach your kids and focus on being the best teachers and the best administrators and the best superintendent that we can be. Lord, we ask that you just bless each and every person here under the sound of my voice. Those families that are represented here, the members of the community at large. Bind us closer together, Lord, in peace and love and harmony from this day forward. We thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Eric. I look around and I see a lot of familiar faces, so I think we got a couple different ways we can go here. We could kind of eliminate everybody else and cut right to Niel and see what he has to say, or we can go through the whole thing again. Should we have a show of hands? No, okay. Well then let's do it again, all right? I'd like to start out with the introductions, and I'd like to begin by introducing the Board of Education, beginning with our president, Mr. Dwight Meyer. Dwight. And this time, our Vice President, Mrs. Conuelli. Cliff Coleman. Mr. Chuck Whitehurst. And Mr. Jimmy Cook. Also up front with this is our Superintendent, Dr. David Robinson. And our immediate past Superintendent who got these projects rolling, Dr. William Bach. Also up front with this is Dr. Bach's predecessor, and the gentleman we're honoring with the name of this school, former Superintendent Dr. F. Niel Postlethwait. And also joining us in the front is Mr. Vic Volesky, Director of Business and Finance for the district, and the gentleman responsible for seeing this project completed for the district. The school's first principal, Mrs. Ernestine Adams. And her assistant, Mr. Derek Perlman. And representing Richard Y. Johnson & Sons Construction, the people who built this beautiful facility, is Project Manager Richard Bailey and Construction Superintendent Herschel Moore. And also joining us again at this site are representatives from the Ray Group, our architects, Mr. Mike Patton, president of the Ray Group. And again, the gentleman who designed this building and Pfeiffer Middle School, Mr. Don Searle. Mr. Frank Wolf. And then his successor, Mr. Ken Roberts. And Ken was followed by our state representative, Jerry Buckworth, who was with us at Pfeiffer but had another commitment this afternoon. And he was followed by me, and then Mrs. Ernestine Adams, who was the last principal of CR Junior High, in addition to being the first for Postlethwait Middle School, and Mr. Dave Seckler, who joined her as the first middle school principal. I think Dave was there. We met him at the other site. Also joining us is our immediate past assistant superintendent, Mr. Jim Page. And former assistant superintendent and business manager, Mr. Bob Coleman. I think Bob's there. Mr. Russ Perry, former administrative assistant, I think is in the crowd. I noticed him late at the last. And I believe former board member Faye Sparks is here, along with her husband Jim Sparks, president of the State Board of Education. Jim. And Bruce Walton, former president of the Board of Education. Again, we'd like to recognize, Clyde Jensen. Clyde's hiding in the back over here also, former president of the Board of Education. Sorry about that, Clyde. But also, I think Dr. Bill Keene is here as well. Is Bill, did I see him standing in the back? Bill, would you like to step out? Former state superintendent, Dr. Bill Keene. And we'd also, again, like to thank members of the Roundtable Club of Camden who donated trees to beautify both sites, and I believe they're represented by Mrs. Betty Bilton. Is Betty able to make it out? Jean Jordan. There's Jean. Thank you, Jean. And Mary Lou Wolf. Mary Lou. And the Rising Sun Community Club also made a contribution of American holly trees to this site as well, and I believe they're represented by Mrs. Doris Wicks. Doris? Thank you. We appreciate the generosity of these community clubs. Also, I want to recognize again Mr. Larry Bolger of On the Wings of Love, who's out in the back with the doves, different set of doves, which we'll be releasing at the end of this ceremony as well. At this time, I'd like to turn the program over to our board president, Mr. Dwight Meyer.
It's my pleasure to welcome you all this afternoon to this momentous occasion. I wanted to say a few things about why we decided to dedicate these two middle schools in the names of two very important community leaders. Actually, it came about from requests from as many as 25 past and present school board members. They thought that it would only be fitting to honor these people who have given so many years of service to the district to name the schools after them. So I must give the credit for these names to the past school board members, and they were headed up by Mr. Clyde Jensen. Clyde, we thank you very much for your help. Also at this time, I would like to recognize a special person, a retired employee of the district, who had the vision to direct the board in deciding to leave the junior high school concept of grades 7 and 8 and institute the middle school concept, which is grades 6, 7, and 8. Without his push and without his drive, we wouldn't be here today. And I have a favorite bumper sticker that I'd like to share with you. It says, "Unless you're the lead dog in the pack, the scenery never changes." And on the Caesar Rodney Board of Education, we try to maintain the lead, and we do have quite a few school districts that are eyeing this building and would love to have a building as nice as this. But I would like to recognize Dr. William J. Bach, former superintendent of schools. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Vic Valesky. He's our Director of Business Affairs. He's going to tell you a little bit about the building and how we got here today. Vic?
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. For those of you who were over at the other dedication ceremony about 2 hours ago, rather than bore you, I'm going to try to reverse my comments and say everything backwards. And I could probably do that without trying. As you look at this building was designed to be the mirror image of the Pfeiffer Middle School. But as you walk through this building today, you're going to notice that this building is distinctly different in its character and the feel as you walk through it. And that's one of the trademarks that the Ray Group brought to Caesar Rodney School District, and one of the features that they incorporate in their schools. Even though in the physical characteristic the building closely resembles the Pfeiffer Middle School, the FNL Postlethwait Middle School sits on a completely different site. The landscaping's different, and many of you will notice the ominous structure behind the building, which is a elevated water tower that is nearing completion. And one of the challenges that we had to overcome at this site was we had no water, and we had to get the water to the school. And that was a challenge that the board wrestled with for a number of months, and it went back even to a previous superintendent. Dr. Bach and I wrestled with that well before his retirement. But the building does resemble the Pfeiffer Middle School, but it is uniquely different. And the people that brought the building from the paper up out of the ground are sitting behind me, Mr. Richard Bailey and Herschel Moore, people that when you undertake a project like this, and especially concurrently 2 projects at the same time, you better have a good relationship with the people you're working with. And these are 2 fine gentlemen who represent a company that was committed to assisting us in the school district and the Board of Education in getting these buildings open on time. And the challenge that they encountered, the first thing out of the blocks, was they got a 2-week delay on the start of this building over their competitors on the other side of the highway. But we finished the buildings at the same time. And in fact, I mentioned over at Pfeiffer, we got the occupancy permit at 5 o'clock on the last business day before we opened school. We were in this building at 3:30 getting the occupancy permit of that very day. So it was close, but without the skill, the cooperation, and just the mutual respect that everyone had for everyone else, this project would not have been accomplished, and I thank them all for that. I'd like to introduce Ernest T. Adams, the principal of F. Niel Postlethwait Middle School.
Thank you, Mr. Gillespie. The educational program at F. Niel Postlethwait Middle School is profoundly different than that of the traditional junior high school. Middle school philosophy and program must reflect small professional learning communities of parents, teachers, and students that are equipped with the necessary tools to be successful. Creating developmentally appropriate environments for young adolescents to learn is critical to linking curriculum and building design. Research has shown that even when schools report programmatic change such as interdisciplinary teaming and building small learning communities within a school, many times they still do not function properly due to environmental and building design issues. Our middle-level education program here at Postlethwait Middle School has been totally transformed and is no longer a mismatch between the old building constraints and curriculum. We strongly believe, as other middle-level educators and researchers do, that past practices of conforming our old junior high school into a middle school had parents and students and teachers caught in our district in a vortex of differences. We strongly believe that because of the new building design and focus that has been placed on young adolescent program needs, that we are no longer caught in this vortex of change. As in true Rider tradition, we are confident that our middle school will be the state-of-the-art middle school that others will want to follow. We will continue to lead by tradition and excellence into the next millennium. We know now that we have not only the building designed for middle school students, but also a program that will support instructional delivery in a student-centered environment. Our educational program here at Postlethwait Middle School has changed. We have 9 professional learning communities within our larger school community. Each learning community has a team planning center that is designed for teacher, parent, and student conferencing. On any given morning, you can walk by one of these planning centers and you can see a team of teachers planning interdisciplinary units, discussing student interventions, meeting with parents, and/or collaborating about current research. We think this is totally an awesome idea. In our old school, as many of you may know, we had little or no access to the state-of-the-art technology. Now we currently have 3 computers and a TV wired for cable in the classroom and computer display monitors for each classroom. Each classroom is equipped and capable to house 7 computer stations. We have 2 36 computer lab stations. One is used solely for the purpose of teaching our students the basic computer skills that they will need to access data today. The other lab is linked to our Library, Media, and Technology Center. The center has an additional 9 computer stations, a production studio, and of course, our Library Media Center still houses books. There is also a professional library that is adjacent to our library for our students. This library's sole purpose is for parents, teachers, and community use. The professional library also has 2 computers. All computers are wired for internet access. We have a PTO and parent center and a community center that is next to our cafeteria that you'll see today. Our industrial arts and home ec programs are no longer the traditional home ec or industrial arts that some of us knew. Our industrial arts programs have been transformed into state-of-the-art technology lab, and it is called Synergistics. Please make sure you check that out today. Students use computer modules in this classroom. They design briefs that link learning to real-world technology. They study things like robotics, mechanical, aerospace, and transportation. It is totally awesome. Home economics is now family living and consumer science. Students continue to learn practical family living skills in this classroom, but they learn it on a broader real-world view, and they focus on careers that deal in family living and consumer science. We have incorporated a full-time performing and visual arts program here, along with our chorus and fine band, as you heard earlier. In addition, we are most proud of our ability to now be the first host school in the district to host a middle school inclusion program from the Charlton Group. This has been very exciting, and we are incorporating more inclusion all along for all students to be a part of. As I stand before you this afternoon as the proud principal of Postlethwait Middle School, I am happy to report that all systems are go at Postlethwait Middle School and that our existing educational program is no longer mismatched. We are truly a middle school that will continue to promote, enhance, and sustain student academic achievement in a safe and nurturing environment. It is hard to believe that it has been a decade since such fine researchers and scholars as Dr. Roberts, our assistant superintendent, then principal of the junior high school, and Dr. Bach, our then superintendent of CR School District, had the foresight to understand that effective junior high schools cannot completely be transformed to middle schools unless we design schools that reflect middle-level education. We owe our Board of Education, ad hoc committee members, and other contributing visionaries such as Drs. Botts and Roberts a great deal of gratitude. On behalf of the students and staff, we would like to say thank you for our middle school that will lead our students into the next millennium. I'd also like to take just a moment to share with you some remarks that our acting secretary, Valerie Woodruff, made when she served as Postlethwait Middle School's principal for a day. At the end of the day, Mrs. Woodruff stated to our faculty and staff during a reception, she said to us, "This is a wonderful place to learn. What a great middle school. I wish every district could have a middle school identical to this one. It would be wonderful. This is truly the best middle school by design in the state. It is a true middle school." We are happiest to stand before you today and report that our school is home to 721 students. Student discipline concerns are down, attendance is up, and more students are achieving better grades. We attribute all of these changes not only to the building design and program changes, but most of all to our involved parents, our enthusiastic teachers, our innovative supportive staff, our awesome district staff, and our supportive community leaders. And of course, under the futuristic leadership of our current visionary, Dr. Robinson, and our proactive board members, I predict that we will continue to build strong educational communities into the next millennium. Again, we thank you for coming out and being a part of our day. And as my father would always say when he would leave the door and he would greet our guests, he would say, "You all come back again, you hear?" Thank you.
Those students, present and past. The vision for the future, as I stated earlier, and really this is part of the future. Dr. Postlethwait, in his role as superintendent, if you look at many of our buildings in the district, they took place and were built under his leadership. When he first became superintendent, there was tremendous growth in the Cesar Rodney School District, and many of the schools that we now have, and one particularly that we're going to renovate, were really his dreams come true, just as these buildings are our dreams come true, mine and Dr. Bach's in our role as superintendent. But our vision for this phase, as I stated before, started with the passage of the referendum for the Stokes School that was passed in 1993 and a planning grant for the junior high. Stokes School was built, and there was some discussion on the junior high and renovating that, and it costed $18 million. The state said you can do it, but you can do it 100% local money. And since we receive funding at the 80-20 level, 80% state and 20% local, obviously that wasn't a choice. So then the decision was made to build 2 middle schools, and that referendum passed in 1996. And we stand here today at this beautiful site as an outgrowth of that. In 1999, presently, we are looking at really rebuilding to new condition Niel's High School. And Niel was the father of Cesar Rodney High School at his current site, and that was dedicated on a November day in 1967. And today, November day, some years later, we're looking at a referendum to rebuild that school, and hopefully that will be successful on November the 23rd, very critical to the growth of this district. As I highlighted in my history lesson, from 1916 to present time, nothing has been the same. Things are in a change, and we live in a changing world. And a quote that a young candidate for an assistant principalship made in an interview several months ago, he made the comment, "If you're green, you grow, and if you're ripe, you're rot." And in the Cesar Rodney School District, we're green and we're growing, and we want to continue to grow. The building of the facilities and the time frame on building these facilities, I became superintendent July the 1st of 1998, and I really didn't know much about the middle schools or what was going on. I was worried about the high school. I was a high school principal, and in Dr. Bach's wisdom, I said, "How do I make this transition?" He says, "You run the high school, take a couple of weeks vacation, and then start as superintendent." So since he was the boss, that's what I did. And the first order of business was that we were going to build 2 schools, and we're going to build them in a year. So being the good leader as I am, I told Harry Roberts, Dr. Harry Roberts, I said, "Harry, you're in charge of curriculum and staffing, and Mr. Blesky, you're in charge of the construction," and I sort of got out of the way, and those 2 carried the ball and did an excellent job. And as stated earlier, there will be a plaque in each office really documenting their role in the construction of these buildings. The Ray Group and the architects, Jim Kripp, the project manager. Jim is not here today, but Jim was our man on the scene every week as we had construction meetings that kept us all going in the right direction, along with the cooperation of Richard and Herschel back here on those bi-weekly meetings. We had a weekly meeting, but bi-weekly because we went from one site to the other. Throughout that, Jim kept us on task, and we worked together to get the job done and done within time frame and within budget. Even though we're about out of money, but we're almost finished. And that's a good way to be, and a real tribute to everyone that worked on that, and it sort of made me look good. I like being the head coach when you win the game. So it was a nice touch. As stated earlier, Dr. Postlethwait has the honor of having a school building named for him and in his honor as a living tribute while he's alive. And you know, that doesn't always happen, and it's happening in this case. It really couldn't happen to a finer individual. A man of dignity and professional integrity, a man of great vision and wisdom, and I often think about the times that I worked for him as a teacher and assistant principal, and I became principal of Cesar Rodney High School in 1988, and he was the superintendent at that time, and I know that his influence in my life has been significant, and he has made tremendous contributions to this school district and to the community. Dr. Postlethwait did retire in 1989 as superintendent. I want to read from you a piece that was in his retirement program. And I think it speaks to his life and to his witness, and after that I will introduce him as he makes his remarks regarding his life in this community and the naming of this school in honor of him. But I will read from this program. F. Niel Postlethwait was born in Allister, West Virginia, and graduated from the Pine Grove High School, Pine Grove, West Virginia. His undergraduate degree was earned at West Virginia Institute of Technology, a master's degree from William & Mary, and his doctorate from Noah University. After leaving the Navy as a fighter pilot in World War II, Dr. Postlethwait spent 15 years as a teacher, principal in Virginia schools. The next 28 years having been spent in Delaware as superintendent of Caesar Rodney School District, except for a period of 1968 to 1970 when he was Deputy State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Caesar Rodney has received many accolades over the years for the quality of education available to young people under the leadership of Dr. Postlethwait, who espoused the necessity of a strong work ethic on the part of teachers and students, and the need for basic instruction in a heterogeneous classroom setting. Primary in his philosophy was a commitment that resources be directed towards the child, the reason for our existence. Dr. Postlethwait believed that all should contribute for the good of society to our work, our families, our leisure time, and our involvement with our community. Once when visiting a first grade class to discuss careers with him, a little boy asked if he was happy with his job. Dr. Postlethwait replied, "Yes, for the most part, I am very happy. You youngsters will learn as you grow older, there are 3 things in life that one must have. You must have a job to go to that you really like. You must have a hobby that you love to do when you're away from the job, and you must have someone to love who loves you. If these 3 things happen, you will be happy in life." Such words of wisdom for our children, and really for all of us. Part of that that happened in Neil's life was his lovely wife for many years. His wife Terry did die unexpectedly, and that created great trauma in Neil's life. And as he lived out, I guess, his life scenario here, he was fortunate to find someone as lovely as Mary Catherine, and now is remarried to Mary Catherine Pfeiffer Postlethwait, and I'm sure that she has fulfilled that 3rd part in his life where Terry could no longer be there because of her untimely death. It's certainly my pleasure to present to you Dr. F. Niel Postlethwait.
Just thinking a while ago when he said something about green and grow, and get as old as I am, I suppose it's time to rot. I'm certainly glad to be here, and I guess I'm glad to be anywhere. But this is really a wonderful day for me, as you can imagine. And there are a lot of people here responsible for this fact, and Dave mentioned, of course, already. But I'd like to have my family just come up here and join with me, as I want you to see them too, and join with me in sharing this occasion. And first of all, May Miles and Barbara Clemens, Terry's sisters, that they'll come up and stand along here someplace. They're from Virginia. Bit of a hardship for them to come, but they came today, and my nephew Stevie, who did the show for them, to have you here. And then too, Tom and Vivian, my son Tom. Some of you need a tooth pulled, I suppose you can get that done. And my grandson Sam, Some of you may have seen him a time or two before in football. And my daughter Linda and my son-in-law Bob Matheny and my granddaughter Becky. 2 grandchildren cannot be here. Daniel, Linda's son, who's studying in China right now, in Beijing, China, at the university there, and my other grandson's at BPI, and he could not be here today. Also want to invite my new family to come up, Mark and Susan Pfeiffer, if you'll join with us. And Mary Catherine, if you'll come right up here too. And this is my bunch. And I'm really flabbergasted to think about having a school named for me, let alone having it happen. And if you think I'm flabbergasted, this bunch, you know me better. Yes. And two, there's some people out here, I'm sure they're just as flabbergasted as everybody is. But anyway, it did happen. And I'm here simply to thank you on our behalf. We really appreciate it. Some special people I'm a little hesitant to say. First of all, the Board of Education that had the courage to do this. I'm surprised about that. It takes, if you're going to be a school board member, you got to stand up and fight for some things sometimes. And so thanks to Dwight Myers and Connie Weldy, Bobby Brown, and Cook, Jimmy Cook. I always call him Cookie, and I don't know if he probably wouldn't answer to Jimmy. Chuck Whitehurst. They were members of the board at that time. Of course, Cliff Coleman, who's now on the board. Did I miss anybody there? But then some other members of previous boards. When you say you had 25 of them previous, that's a surprise to me. It's kind of a shock. I know you must have had several that you wouldn't. Anyway, I see some of them here. And Face Quartz, I thank you. Bruce Walton, who was my board president for a number of years, I thank you. And Ty Jensen, you're really special to take the ball in your leadership. Came along, I think, and had the decision in your mind that these 2 schools ought to be named. And throughout that process, I really am grateful to you for your work and your efforts. And of course, to all the other board members who helped with that. Got a couple of old colleagues here, and I want to say thanks for coming. Your presence means a lot to me. Ray Christian back there, been a fellow competing superintendent for William Penn for years and years. We fought like dogs in a lot of cases. You know, Newcastle County wanted all the money. They didn't get it all, in spite of you, Ray. And Bill Keene back there, he's standing back in there, I don't know, but I worked with him and for him, and he was just a great, wonderful person. And he worked in the days when kind of superintendents and teachers were in charge of what was happening in the schools. We didn't have this political influence. And Bill kind of was a buffer between the politicians and those of us who were practicing education. And I think he did a great job in that regard. And I'm not sure that's happening now, but that's none of my business. Maybe it is. It's all of the business. But 2, I see Archie Jordan, Frank Wolf, Russ Perry sitting out there. They were part of my brain trust. Not much happened in this district since yet. Frank and us were both here in 1961 when it came. Archie came a year later. But after that time, not much happened in this district. They weren't involved in some ways of making decisions. I'm grateful to them. And so I just say thanks to the great family, and thanks to all of you so much.
I'm not going to make another speech, but I would just like to salute this community for honoring another great man today.
Always the last word.
Thank you, Neil. I've had the pleasure to work for Neil for a good part of my career. Of course, I don't remember that humorous side when you were chewing me up one side down the other, back when I was a young assistant principal. But it's nice to know it's there. I can say that now. As we did at the last dedication, when we conclude with the release in a few minutes, we invite everyone to tour the building, see what a wonderful middle school this is and how it works for kids, and then to join us for light refreshments in the cafeteria. At this time, we'll have the release of doves to signify the peace, tranquility, and hope we have for the school and all of our students. Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Cafeteria of the Postlethwait Middle School. Of the Ray Group and the architect.
the hallway at Postlethwait.
Take care.
Derek Cronin, assistant principal. Talking with Rita Perone, custodian. Ken Roberts and Jim Page at Postlethwait Middle School. They'll probably have to burn them.
We want them blown up, big, life size.
Looking at the Allen Freer Elementary School. John S. Charlton School. On the rear of the Postlethwait School. Athletic fields. This is the water tower being constructed on the grounds. Postlethwait Middle School. Hallway in Postlethwait School from the first floor office area. Linda Robinson and Joe Galgano.
As soon as he does it.
Or are you just gonna ship him out?